What's up, Resurrection Church? It's Pastor David. Want to keep teaching and thinking about the task of evangelism. And I hope that you are thinking through ways that you can take the teaching we've already worked on and apply it to getting the gospel to the lost. It is a unique summer. I know everybody feels like they've been caged up and now they're ready to get out and play, but I hope you're ready to get out and tell people about Jesus as much and as often as often as the Holy Spirit opens doors, that your antenna is always up. The teaching I've been trying to release is a few short videos that help us to keep thinking and growing in the task of evangelism. And so what I'd like to do right now is just help you think about the task of mapping who God has put in front of you. Sometimes seeing the harvest is actually one of the most challenging things for us. And I've tried to encourage us to remember, I ask myself, who do I know and where has God put me? Who do I know? That's my neighborhood, or my network, excuse me. And where has God put me? That's my neighborhood, right? If I could get that out of my mouth there. Neighborhood, where has God put me? Network, who do I know? I'm asking this because I know that God's in sovereign control, and He's the one that has ordered my events. He is the one who's ordered my interactions. He's put me in a place to be a light. So are there new steps that I need to take to create new spiritual relationships? Yes. But I really believe that the ceiling is so high that the sky is the limit. If our church, if every Christian at Resurrection Church just looked and said, what if I took the relationships I already have and I looked at them through a lens of intentional planning for gospel witness by the power of the Holy Spirit? You have coworkers, you have neighbors, you have people in your rec league or your kids' rec league, and I think we need to harness those opportunities and see what God does and see how God opens up the harvest. And so what I think you need to do is start actually taking a deliberate plan to those two arenas that God has given you, your network and your neighborhood. And today I just want to focus on the neighborhood, all right? So neighborhood is the idea, remember? I'm just going to write neighbors. I think, is it I think I've spelled that right? It's E-I? Yeah, neighborhood. We'll go all the way, all right? In your neighborhood, let's put your house right here in the middle, okay? And so that's you, and you're a Christian home, a Christian family, and you need to think about the fact that God has then put you in the midst of other homes. Now, in downriver, you're often going to have something along the lines of, okay, you live on a street and there are people across the street, and let's put a home here, a home here. I'm going to be horrible at this, but we'll just draw them out, okay? And then you've got these homes next door to you, but you also usually are going to have people behind you. I know for my house, that's a little challenging. I actually know my neighbors pretty well directly behind me, but then these ones kitty corner behind are a little harder. But even in, especially like Lincoln Park, some of you may not have all of these places, but potentially you're going to have somewhere in the range of 5 to 8 neighbors, right? And that's households, not just one person usually. And so what I want you to see, though, is that this question of where has God put me? It's actually a very important evangelistic question, because He's put you in daily proximity as a light to at least this many people. But many of you, you know the neighbors 2 doors down, right? On each side, and you might not know them well. Some of you, you may know them better than the person directly next to you. I was talking to a member of our church who said, I don't know, I've been here for 12 years and I don't know the person next door. Well, that's partly why I had already been planning to teach on this, but I want to help us think and stop and go, God says Paul describes what God planned in Acts chapter 17, how He ordered the nations so that they might reach out and find Him when He put Israel on the map. Well, I'm telling you that if He put His Spirit in you and then He put you on the map, that He also puts you in a place on purpose. Where has God put you? That's a question for you to pray about with your evangelism. And what I'd like you to think about then is, okay, so cool, I'm convinced, Pastor David, he put me here, and he put me here to figure out, how to be a light to these people. And this is where our talk a couple videos ago about a plan to go from stranger to acquaintance to friend to witness is important. So all I'm going to do right here is draw that and remind you of it and give you some practical steps, okay? So we talked about this plan of how somebody goes from S for stranger, okay, to A for acquaintance to friend, okay? That's a relationship. So there's this spectrum. And you go from stranger to acquaintance by meeting someone, right? So let's just say I said intentional contact, right? But I'm just going to put meeting here for now. And you go from acquaintance to friend by caring for someone, all right? You care about them. You listen to them. You learn. You live life with them. And so that's meaningful connection, right? Intentional contact, meaningful connection. Let's just say we meet them, we care, right? And then you go from friend to family, and now I'm going to use that as the cross, okay, only as you witness of Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, all right? The Holy Spirit makes them alive, okay? That spectrum is the way you need to be thinking right now. Frankly, you could just look at these houses and you could ask yourself some questions and say, okay, are they a stranger? Are they acquaintance? Are they a friend? Are they a believer? And map them out. And for instance, in my neighborhood, okay, I'm taking not a risk, but I'll just be transparent here, okay? When we moved in, we weren't members of the same church. We didn't know the Funks. In fact, Jana and Ken had not been baptized, and so it didn't start this way, but now here's where we're at. Our next door neighbors are on this spectrum as believers. But on this side, I know them. So I've met Steve and Ann, and I've talked some, but I would say that we're still in the acquaintance arena, and we would like to see a friendship grow that gives us more meaningful chances. So I look and I say, okay, I think they're basically an acquaintance. I know their name and something about them. They know me, but we don't really have a ton of meaningful conversations that give me doors to witness of Jesus Christ, like a friendship. But it's getting there. We're hoping to have them over for dinner soon. But I'm going to be honest. These two homes are newer neighbors, and I'm struggling right now on this video to remember their names, though I've talked to them both in the last week. I'm just going to be honest. I'm struggling to remember their names. Okay? And I know this person's name, and I could tell you their names, but I would say, okay, acquaintance. And I would say, we barely know them, and we know of them, but it's only acquaintance. And this one's acquaintance, right? So, and I don't know them. Okay, so look at the work I've got to do. All right, acquaintance. I have some neighbors that are unknown. They're strangers. And it's a really simple step. If I want to tell them about Jesus, the first thing is to meet them, right? But then I've also got a number of neighbors that are acquaintances, and I need to think through meaningful ways to develop a deeper relationship, to display a deeper commitment. Not just to have a relationship, but to care for them. I need to show them I care. And I'll confess right now, I get tangled up in a bunch of other things in my life. Being a pastor is often a great excuse to not be very evangelistic in my neighborhood because there's good spiritual work. Now, it is good spiritual work, but that keeps me busy elsewhere. So I pull into my driveway and I leave, or I do, But I need to talk over the fence with Roberto. I need to talk over the fence with Brian. I need to take up the responsibility of deepening these relationships and being a witness. And try to see open doors that God uses friendship, caring for people, to witness to them about Jesus, and then use the gospel witness. The Holy Spirit's the only one that can create spiritual life there. So what I'd ask you to do is take time as a couple. Take time if you're single, and list out, map your houses around you, and look at this as a stewardship given by God. I live here on purpose. What does God want me to do with that? And here's what I would ask you to do, the second step. So draw your map, that's one. And the second step is this. Can you list the names of the neighbors that are in these homes? So that's going to help you start to think, are they strangers or are they acquaintances? And for the places where you don't know their names, you've got to, you know what the clear next step is. Intentional contact, right? Meet them. When you do know their name, ask yourself, do I know about their general life situation? Have we had casual conversations? Or do I just basically know their name? If you know generally about them, then you'd be looking for even to go to deeper conversations about their lives. And that's a relatively easy step. If you've talked about some things, you probably can talk about more significant or deep things. But you're thinking, how does an acquaintance become someone? A friend, I don't mean is like your best friend that now you have each other's names tattooed under your armpit or something like that. What I simply mean is this. You have the ability to talk about meaningful ideas. You know that there's a relationship of some level of trust and care for each other. And now you can freely communicate the gospel. If you get open doors with somebody you don't even know their name, great, tell them the gospel. But we are in our neighborhood for a long time. And so we want to think about these as long-term opportunities to see these relationships build. I think my neighbors on this side are getting closer to the friend side where there's care. And I think, right, frankly, we'll be able to have them over for dinner and talk more about Jesus Christ. But by God's grace, here's what I hope. Every one of these houses is eventually filled with a cross. Now, the Holy Spirit's the only one that can convert people. But I realize that God has ordered where I am on purpose. And so I ask, where has God put me? And if I can't name the people he's put me around, I've got to change that by going from stranger to acquaintance, by meeting them. If I can't tell you anything about their lives, I've got to change that by going from acquaintance to friendship, by caring. Maybe it's just that I have to start by caring for them because they're lost. But I have to care in talking with them, listen to them, share with them. And then I've got to care enough about them that as they share their dreams, their failures, their fears, their hopes, I'm willing to share the good news about Jesus Christ. And then we watch the Holy Spirit change household after household. That's just a short teaching on how you can prepare to go with the good news of Jesus Christ to the place that God has put you. Go without going. You need to go to this place he's put you. I hope that's helpful. I'd love to hear your comments. Love to help you more if I can.